the MondayMorningQuarterback.com. It was an interesting day, Peter, to say the least. I said yesterday, different teams reacted differently, different owners reacted differently. There's a warm spot in my heart when sports unites and people came together. And that part I loved yesterday. When you were calling your sources throughout the day, were you getting a lot of different emotional reactions from coaches and players, Peter?
I got almost the same universal reaction, Colin, and that was that Donald Trump might have divided the country on this issue, but he has united the NFL. When's the last time that DeMaurice Smith and Roger Goodell agreed on anything? And I think that's one of the things to take away from this weekend. Where do we go from here? After the mania of one of the strangest football weekends I can recall in 34 years covering the league. What happens now? And I mean, Colin, as I pointed out in my column this morning, let's remember way back to the golden days of week 2, 8 days ago. Okay, 8 days ago. How many people? Okay, Marshawn Lynch sat. A couple of guys raised a fist. There were fewer than 10 people in the NFL in week 2 that had any sort of demonstration at all for this. This basically was dying out in favor of this players coalition that was trying to work with the league to basically allow more social activism among players supported by the NFL. Like, instead of just having Breast Cancer Awareness Month or whatever it is this year, let's have Social Activism Awareness Month. And so they were going to talk to the league and have serious dialogue about this. Well, all bets went off at 9 o'clock Friday night, when Trump called players SOBs. And Colin, it was such an extraordinary day, and it was capped for me. I'm there writing at 1:20 a.m., in my home in New York, and somebody tweets out, "Man, you've got to see this Josh Norman clip, from his post-game press conference after Oakland, Washington." And he's basically asking in almost a plaintive cry, am I in America? Am I an American? After what we heard Friday night and after what, the crowd cheers in Alabama to say fire the SOBs. And so I think now where we are is I think things are going to settle down some. People are still going to demonstrate, but I do think that it's going to get back to football a little bit more. And let's see what can develop behind the scenes to use the Trump comments as an impetus to improve the real activism of NFL players.
Peter King joining us. Please go to his site, themmqb.com. Howie Long was on, always very thoughtful and conscientious. He came on earlier and he said, he goes, maybe I'm just old and don't get it. He goes, I watch OBJ and I watched that thing he did. And he goes, I just feel like there's nobody in the organization that can say, hey, come on now, let's get it together. What is your reaction to OBJ, the dog act, and the assertion that maybe there is a lack of leadership that to kind of go to OBJ and say, Peter, listen, kid, we love you, but you're hurting the team on stuff like that?
I don't think that would happen on the Seattle Seahawks. I just don't. I think it's I think it's utterly, absolutely pathetic. Here's a guy who caught his 300th pass in the NFL on Sunday. He's a truly great, transcendent talent. So what happens this morning, even though the Giants lose the game? What happens this morning on the back page of the Daily News? There's a gigantic picture of this transcendent talent lifting his leg and urinating like a dog, on the back page of the New York Daily News. I mean, is that what you want your life to be? Is that what you want your legacy to be? Somebody with the Giants has got to stop saying, oh, well, he's growing up. Somebody with the Giants has got to lasso him. And I don't even mean talk some sense into him, but to tell him that stuff hurts your team, not only with the penalty, but with the image of your team. It is so ridiculously unprofessional to say, hey, let's urinate on an opposing team's field or faux urinate. It's just, I'm speechless about it, really. I'm just speechless.
Peter King, themmqb.com. I said this. Kobe Bryant was shot at 36. As great as LeBron is, he's 32, and you can tell he's not quite the defensive player. Tom Brady yesterday, in fact, the last 2 weeks, Peter, has had a pass rush, has literally been in the crosshairs of violent collisions, and that was as good at 40 years old as I've ever seen Tom Brady. Brandon Cooks, who came from the Saints, Tom and him finally connect yesterday. You talked to Brandon Cooks. Like when you talked to Patriot players yesterday, what did Tom say in the huddle?
He just basically said, let's do what we do best before that play. And they did it. And Brady is not a dramatic, although sometimes on the sidelines you see him airing people out. He's not really a dramatic guy in the huddle because his feeling is we only have a certain amount of time to get the play in from Josh McDaniels on the sidelines, and then I want to give it to you, and then I need to get out to look at this defense. Not only has the defense been swarming around me the whole day, but we've only got 1 or 2 plays left to try to win this game. So he's not giving any John Wayne speeches in the huddle. But I think, Colin, the one thing that you're seeing, and with all of the people who laugh at his lifestyle and who ridicule and make fun of Tom Brady for all the water he drinks, the electrolytes and the avocado ice cream, going to bed at 8:30 and all that stuff. I'm just saying, this guy, he's not hurting anybody. He's found out what his passion is in the world. He's not hurting a soul, and he's going out and continuing to play great. I think it's a tribute to him, and it's a tribute to him that he can play with blinders on and his ears closed, so he doesn't hear what a lot of people are saying about him and how ridiculously square he is. And I find all the criticism of Tom Brady to be hilarious. Now, it's one thing. If you want to criticize him over the ball deflation charges, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead. Have at it. But to criticize his lifestyle of a guy who really does everything right off the field, I think, people might argue with Donald Trump, but hey, I'll argue with somebody's politics all day. But all his professional stuff, he does right.
Okay, it's interesting. I've watched this league for a long time. You've covered it for a long time. And my takeaway after this weekend was this league's as good as its quarterbacks. And we got Manning retiring and Favre is out and Big Ben's getting older. Dak's the real deal. Wentz is the real deal. Goff's got the right coach. He's the real deal. I got to tell you something. Deshaun Watson's got something going.
He does.
Tonight, Dak's playing. I tell you, Derek Carr. You know what, Peter? I look around this league at young quarterbacks. I feel confident saying this. We're all good. We got 8 young guys. I love them.
Colin, you stole a story I'm working on for the MMQB. You just did. I just thought watching these games yesterday and over the weekend, and I see Jared Goff, I see Mariota. The clincher was watching Deshaun Watson. I was saying to myself, my gosh, this guy's going toe-to-toe with Tom Brady.
Yes.
Remember in the playoffs last year? Dak Prescott going toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers. So all of the the sort of quarterback greatness deniers or whatever we'd call it, like climate change deniers, all of these people who say that, oh my God, the world's going to hell in a handbasket because there are no good quarterbacks. Look at these young guys.
It's incredible.
If Jameis Winston can stop throwing interceptions for 5 minutes, he's got to look at the guys who've entered the league in the last few years. Look, what do we see from Trubisky? Trubisky looks like he's got a real chance. So I think, you know what that's born of, Colin? That's born of the year when you've got Christian Ponder, Jake Locker, and Blaine Gabbert. That's born of those guys going 8, 9, 10. So everybody says, see, you can't pick quarterbacks. Well, maybe guys, this is a special crop. And how about this? Trent Dilfer tells me last week or a couple of weeks ago, this coming year, depending on who comes out, could be the best year for quarterbacks in the draft since 1983.
Yeah, by the way, we're not mentioning Garoppolo, who hasn't been given
right.
And we're not mentioning Luck, who will come back. I feel very confident right now.
And Colin, I'm not saying that Jacoby Brissett has done enough to earn his spot, on this mantle with these other guys. But I'm saying that I kind of like to see what his potential is. And I don't hope for Andrew Luck to get hurt again, but I think I want to see Jacoby Brissett play 6 or 8 games in a row. I think he's intriguing.
So do I. I thought that yesterday. I'm like, there's something there. And by the way, we're not mentioning Kaiser. Again, I just look at these young guys and I'm like, I'm sorry. I see talent, about 10 different guys. Peter King, check his site out, MMQB. Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Colin.
Coming up next, desperate people and teams do desperate things. Oh, dear Lord, that's next. Stamps save you time and money, and which you can use to grow your business. You can mail any letter, any package, now using your computer and printer with Stamps.com. Domestic, international, doesn't matter. There's no long-term commitment. You click, you print, you mail, and you're done. Don't have to use the post office. Letters or packages at your convenience 24/7. Any package, any letter, any class of mail, domestic, international. Stamps.com makes it easy. Right now, a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitments. Go to Stamps.com, click on the mic, type in Colin. Stamps.com, enter Colin. Never go to the post office again. No long-term commitment. Why wouldn't you try it? Stamps.com.